Yeah, okay.
We're going to go ahead and get started here. So it is 6:30, and are we all ready to go from your end, Cameron? All right, perfect. So we're going to start on our agenda with the public hearing, and then we'll move on to our regular board meeting. So it is February 14, 2020, 6:30 p.m. Centerville Schools Administrative Office, and we are into a public hearing on the Howard Phase 2 project. I'd like to start by calling the meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Johnson.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Mike Thomas.
Here.
Bob Thomas.
Here.
Shondell.
Here.
Berger.
Here.
Viscus.
Here. Okay, so I'd like to welcome all of our visitors. We're going to, we'll get to the public comments on this project in just a minute, but we'd like to welcome everybody who's come in person and has come in via Zoom. Next step that we need to do is approve the agenda for the meeting.
So move. Second.
We have a motion, a second to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed say nay. And the agenda is approved. So, Howard Phase 2 project. So at this point, if Rochelle, if you would go ahead and talk us through this.
Yes, so on Thursday, we received 2 bids for Howard Phase 2. And we received a bid from Tricon and we received a bid from Bi-State. Bi-State was the apparent low with $1,175,195 for the low bid on this project.
Okay. So, having said that, what is going to happen at a regular board meeting is we will, as a board, approve the plans and discuss. But right now, we'd like to open this up for any public comments from the public on Howard Phase 2 projects. Any public comments? Okay. Hearing that, is it appropriate for the board to discuss now, or do it with the board? Okay, does anybody on the board want to discuss anything on the cost estimates for the Howard Phase 2 project?
How's that been financial?
Well, we had a finance committee meeting on that, and before that, and I'll give you the short answer, and Lisa can fill in all the details. Basically, there are funds available to do it. What is working in our favor right now is ESSER funds that came in, that we use some of the ESSER funds to pay for some of the Phase 1 projects. And what we talked about the finance committee, there's several things that are driving the cost estimate. One is it's a kind of a quick project that has to be done over the summer, so there's a competition for labor with all the contractors who's available to do those kinds of things. So that limited the number of bidders that are out there. The second thing is, because it is federal funds from ESSER, it is Davis-Bacon, and in the Davis-Bacon world, those federal labor rates have risen 4 times in the last several months. So there's a constant acceleration in what those wages are, because contractors are paying more in wages just like everybody else is in the world right now. So that is a rapidly escalating cost and all of that. And then there was a third one. What was the third reason? Was there a third reason, Rochelle, that you told me? I can't remember. I wrote it down, but I don't find it right now.
Also just equipment costs,
Material costs,
inflation just in general, which I'm sure everyone, tonight is aware of those increased prices.
But so within the project funds we have available, it's nothing that we really want to absorb, but it's within the means to do it, mostly because of the ESSER funds. I would also say that if we scale anything back and push anything out to the future, I think we're going to be seeing more inflationary costs. I think the consensus of, and Tim and Brooke, you can speak up, is we should go ahead and do it because let's not leave the building half done.
So this bid represents the Davis Bacon
Yes,
funds. We don't have to, like last time we had to increase it.
it's in it.
Because we didn't start out with Davis Bacon in the phase one.
Part of that because we didn't know we were going to use all the ESSER funds, so.
But we went to Davis Bacon in phase one, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and I guess that's the other thing, is not just, in the summer, that it's not just there's a short time where to fit into it. There's a lot of other school districts like us that are trying to use ESSER funds for HVAC projects in the summer months. So it makes that window even tighter to get it done.
We did talk about with the contract, that we will have the school, is that right, Tom? But if the project isn't finished, then they would have to work evenings and weekends, and,
Yeah.
you know, we will still have school, but
They'll have to work around us.
they'll have to work around us.
We don't have the flexibility that we had in phase one. They will be fully aware of that. In fact, they're fully aware of it now before they even submitted a bid. We have limited
I think
empty space.
the fact that by-state is a little bit, but we'll get into that in the regular meeting, but I think that bodes well for the timeline understanding, them understand the timeline.
Rochelle, as far as materials, is there any concern, I guess, about not getting things in time right now if this gets approved tonight?
So lead times are obviously, as you know, long. I'm sorry. Lead times are long, but that's why we're bidding it now, so that we have plenty of time to get through shops. If we were to delay approval, I would be concerned that we would get units in time for the school year to start. That would be a concern I would have. But I did talk with Ferris about that, and they talked with the supplier. And right now it looks like once we get those ordered, it's going to be like a 15-week lead time.
Any other discussions before we finish up the public hearing?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion, second adjourn. All in favor of adjourning the public hearing, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, we got you, Chris, thanks. All opposed, nay? All right, the public hearing is closed. And oh, by the way, if you heard any cooing in the background, we should congratulate Rochelle formally. She's a new mom as of 2 weeks ago, and she's on tonight for us, so we appreciate that dedication. All right, moving on to our regular board meeting, we'll go ahead and call to order with a roll call, please.
Johnson. Here. Moore.
Here.
Mike Thomas.
Here.
Bob Thomas.
Here.
Shonda.
Here.
Berger.
Here.
Viscus.
Here. And I'd like to welcome visitors again, just like we did before. And this is a time for public forum input of anything that the public wants to bring to the attention of the board.
Well, I was here in case you had any questions over the calendar on the email that I sent earlier.
Okay.
But that's all I was gonna do.
So just to, I'll go ahead and clarify that now, is tonight's action is to review the calendar. That kind of became a hot topic today. And there's no action that's going to be taken on the calendar tonight. And in talking with Tom, I know that there's going to be, this is kind of a first look for the board. And Tom and his team are going to take this, and the CEA's been involved with this, and they're going to go back and get some more CEA involvement on it, so. Okay. Any other comments on the public forum?
Yeah, I think at some workshop, we should be dealing with this censorship or objection to materials being used. I think we have a policy. I don't think any of us totally remember what it's all about, but I think we need to be prepared if somebody brings some objection and what those procedures are. We need to have that in our head before we have a real case, in case we have a real case. But I think there's you know, people have the idea they come in and just object, but there's some procedures and things that have to be done. We need to know those, and they've been written out for years, and there's.
So are you saying that the board needs a policy on censorship?
No.
What-
I'm saying we need to understand the policy we already have.
Okay,
I think it's a perfectly workable policy that we've used in the 70s and 80s. There were people who objected to things, and John Bolger, and those English people were involved with some of those objections. Gene Beeler, I think I've commented on that, and I think that procedure would still work.
have you read that policy lately? Because I have not.
I don't even know where to find it, but I know it's there. So she'll just type in some magic words and we'll find it.
The board policies are on the school website.
She finds it faster than I can. It's been all day finding it.
Okay.
I retired before there was much technology.
Okay. Anything else?
It's in your 600 series. It's in your 600 series is where curriculum and stuff's found
Okay,
in your board policy.
Thanks.
okay. Anything else on the public forum? Okay, see no other discussion, we need to approve the agenda for the regular board meeting.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to approve the agenda, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. All right. Agenda is approved. We need to approve the meetings of the previous meetings, so there's minutes in there from the January 10th and January 14th meetings. Any comments on those, or we good on the meeting minutes?
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion, second to approve the meetings from the minutes from the previous meetings. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the meeting minutes are approved. There's nothing under old business on the agenda, but I am gonna mention something that came up in the finance committee meeting, so everybody's aware of it. In a previous meeting, we had approved for 5 buses. And when Tim went to order them, the bus company was saying, we have some availability issues. And so the plan is still gonna get the 5. The cost is still neutral within almost, I don't wanna say to the penny, but it's with a couple $100. But instead of getting 3 gas buses for routes, 3 of them aren't available. The engines are not available to the manufacturer. But what are available right now in stock are 2 diesel buses for routes. And then we would get a gas
Another diesel.
route bus.
I think another diesel.
Well, yeah, I'm on route buses, so there'd be, instead of 3 gas route buses, there'd be 2 diesel gas route buses. Then later there'd be 1 gas coming
It's
in
diesel.
fall or whatever.
I think they're all diesel.
Tim's
Right.
2 to 1.
It was 2 route buses and then a trip bus
The trip bus is diesel.
is diesel also. Then that would be in the fall.
The 3rd diesel bus is the trip bus. So there's 3 route buses, a special ed bus, and a trip bus. It was gonna be a diesel trip bus, the special ed bus, and 3 gas route buses. Now it's gonna be the same one for the trip bus, same thing on the special ed bus, but it is on the route buses, that 2 would be diesel, they're available like in April. And then later on in the year, whenever it's available, it would be a gas one. That's what the numbers were. So, just want to make the board aware of that, so, because we did say the mix has just changed, the dollars are staying the same. Just so everybody knows, so that when the contracts come back, if you say, well, I thought we'd get 3 gas buses, now you know why. So, that's the only thing we're gonna bring up under old business. Any questions on that? You good? Okay. All right, new business. First one is resolution to formally approve and adopt the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimate total cost of the Howard Middle School Phase 2 project. Okay. So we've had the public hearing, we've had some discussion, if you want to have any more, otherwise, the next, we would approve basically the specs and the contract. The next thing we'll do is a resolution to award the bid, presumably to the lowest bidder by state. So any questions on this first action item, which is to approve and adopt the plan specifications and form of contract?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve and adopt the plan specifications form of contract for the Howard Phase 2 projects. All in favor signify by saying aye. This is a roll call, sorry.
Roll.
Johnson? Yes. Moore?
Yes.
Mike Thomas?
Yes.
Bob Thomas?
Yes.
Shondell?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Wiskus?
Yes. Okay. So now, the next action item is the resolution awarding the bids on the Howard Middle School Phase 2 projects. The low bidder is by state at $1,175,195. Any discussion on this? Okay, how about a motion then?
Motion to approve, by state bid.
Second?
We have a motion second to award the bid to by-state contractors. This is a roll call vote.
Johnson? Yes. Moore?
Yes.
Mike Thomas?
Yes.
Bob Thomas?
Yes.
Shondell?
Yes.
Berger?
Yes.
Wiskus?
Yes. Okay. Okay, this next one, approve the resolution to request to the SBRC, which is the State Budget Review Committee,
School budget review.
School Budget Review Committee, that was close, for the funding related to the increased enrollment for the statewide voluntary preschool program. There's a lot of stuff in the packet in there. Lisa did a nice job laying it out, but if you would mind just a brief overview.
During the 2021 school year, we had a decrease in preschool numbers from parents probably leaving them home for COVID. And so then this year, we had an influx or just an increase, and the state is saying, since this is not a normal situation, they will allow us to receive the funding for those students. And it was an increase of 13 students, which we get money for half of that, so 6.5, and it's $46,975.50.
Now, normally, we would wait and do this a year and get the money a year late, but they're saying,
Well,
right,
so last year when we did the count for preschool, the funding for that is this year.
Right.
But now this year we have more students, so some districts add a teacher or have increased costs, other costs, so that's why they're allowing it. They're saying that you had an increase of students, but the funding is a year behind, so.
So the money will come for this budget year?
Yeah.
Fiscal year?
Yeah.
instead of waiting next year.
And it's, it'll be coming in the form of reimbursement, so we'll spend it and then I'll ask for reimbursement and they'll give it back to us.
Nothing wrong with getting money early.
I move to approve that resolution to request funding.
Is it a voice or a roll call?
It's Du Bois.
Okay. We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second to request the SBRC funding for the increased enrollment for preschool. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, and all opposed, no? Okay. Next one is approve the district's education contract with Training Wheels LLC. We have used them before. And the contract is in the board package, so any discussion?
Can we get some, is everybody happy with them? Are they doing the job right? Lisa says
I don't have any
yes.
complaints on my side of it.
I haven't heard of any complaints. Matt Johnson's on the screen, high school principal, I don't know. Matt, do you have any insight into that particular issue on driver's ed?
No, not really. I'm not aware of any significant complaints with how driver's ed's been going. I think we've been using them for a number of years.
So do they get, I know they used to get credit for that. Do they still get school credit for that?
I'd say no, I think.
No, they do not get a credit for that.
Okay.
Because it's outside the high school, right?
It's not taught by,
Use school credit for it, so. Okay. How many, is there, I know it's off the shoulder here, but how many kids use that, do we know? Or is it, I know there's a push for like kids going to private driver's ed and things too, I don't.
there's quite a few of our students that use training wheels. It's really the most convenient way for most students in our district to get access to driver's education. I don't have the exact number, but I mean, I know they fill up a classroom, and it's quite an ordeal to schedule all the drive time because we have so many kids.
I saw there was a rate structure based on fuel prices. Do the students, if there's an increase, do the students pay that? I thought they did.
Yes, students pay to attend driver's education.
Well, we paid the.
I was gonna say we pay some.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some instances where we pay, and that's based on like free students who receive free or reduced lunch prices. That's they get free or reduced price of driver's ed.
That is one of the changes in the contract this year. They used to give us a discount on those students, but we're gonna pay full price this time.
Where's that money? Come general fund?
Does that answer your question, Mike? On the
Yeah,
fuel surcharge?
yeah,
Okay,
I think so.
okay, go ahead.
Motion to approve the driver's education contract.
Second.
You have a motion second to approve the driver's education contract with Training Wheels LLC. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no? Motion passes. Okay. So as we discussed earlier, this is the review of the 2022-2023 calendar. It's a draft for your review. And I know in discussions earlier, Tom, we've talked about it a little bit, and I know there's some concerns about some things on some of the dates. Tom's gonna go back and work with the CEA on it, and he'll bring back a calendar for approval at a later time. Okay, so there's no action that needs to be taken on that one. Okay. Any questions on that one? Okay. So the next action is superintendent contract for fiscal year 22-23. So as a little bit of background, Tom is in his last year of his contract. It is due to expire on June 30th. And Tom and I have had some discussion over the last couple of months about extending his contract. Tom's indicated he would like one more year on the contract. And what the action item is for tonight would be for the board as a whole to, basically, the motion would be for the finance committee of Tim, Brooke, and I to enter into a one-year contract extension negotiations with Tom. What would happen then is we'll get together, we'll work out the details of the contract with Tom. Then we would bring the contract back for the board to approve as a whole. So you're not approving a contract extension tonight. What you're doing is you're basically authorizing the finance committee to enter into contract negotiations with Tom. So is there any questions on what the action is that we're looking for tonight?
Okay, I move to have the finance committee go into contract negotiations with Dr. Rubel.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion, a second, for the finance committee to go into contract negotiations with Tom. All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
I'm a yes. All opposed, no?
No.
No.
Okay. You have all of those?
There are 3 of them? Sorry.
I heard 3.
Right, Thomas, Chris, John Doe, and Mike Moore? Is that right? Is that who I heard?
All right, so the motion passes 4-3. We'll move on to personnel, improved personnel procedures. Usually by board practice. This is something that we take in as a whole, in aggregate between the resignations, transfers, and contracts, volunteer agreements, and sports officials. Any questions on any of these?
I make a motion to approve personnel and business procedures.
Second.
Motion and a second. Everybody, all in favor of the business personnel procedures as presented, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no? Okay, those are passed. Your report, Tom?
Just probably the biggest thing that superintendents are thinking about right now is legislative action. And there are numerous things that have been in committee, numerous things that haven't. Probably the thing that is most significant is supplement of state aid. And that has not been set. One of the finance committee asked me when that would be. I don't know.
I thought the Senate approved what the House wanted today, and it's on to the governor.
Which it takes the governor. So
Right,
it hasn't been
Okay.
officially.
Okay, yeah.
Right, but so that steps, and I would assume that will happen, but it'll probably happen tomorrow, or maybe it's happening tonight. So that would be the only thing on legislation that I would report on. That would be it.
Okay. All right, as far as committee reports, for the finance committee, we did talk with Rochelle before, and we kind of discussed all that in Howard. We did have Jim Wright, the attorney who helps us with the bonds, just to discuss the use of funds, the use of the bonds, and the timing of that. We just wanted to make sure that what timeframes we had to spend the bonds and what some of the uses could be, and we're satisfied that we're on track and doing the right things.
All right, go in more detail on that,
Okay,
because otherwise the rest of us are out in
okay, so.
with not enough information.
Okay, the question was, on the 2020 SAVE bond,
Right.
that part of the action of the board was to spend money on the preschool project. The question that we had was on use of funds and timing. And could we spend some of the money on the high school project before we spent money on the preschool project? Is there we have to do step A, B, C, D, E? Or could we do A, B, skip C, do D, E, and come back to C? And the answer is we can spend them in any order that we want to. It doesn't have to be consecutively. In other words, we don't have to do the preschool before we do high school. We can do them at the same time. We can do one before the other. We just want to make sure that we're in compliance with the language that the voters approved. And so there are some questions if we started spending money on the high school project out of the SAVE money, but we haven't done the preschool first, are we still in compliance with the bond language? And what Jim told us was, no, we can spend money on the high school before we start spending it onto the preschool. So it's a
Okay,
time.
and why did that bond company raise questions about what we were doing? I didn't know why they were butting in the first place. Do you understand that any better now?
No, yeah, I'm giving his answers.
Yeah.
He clarified.
What did he say that
Well, what
changed your
bond
mind
company?
from?
I thought she was just nervous about
us spending any money on the high school if we hadn't spent any money on the preschool.
Because the
And he
original
said it
language,
doesn't
yeah.
matter. He said, you know, we could do, like, whatever we do at the preschool, what we thought we were gonna do however many years ago, and what we end up doing, as long as we spend some money at the preschool doing something, we have met the
Gotcha.
requirements. So our thought process is we will make sure to save a certain amount for the preschool, but go ahead and put the extra that we have because of the ESSER money, that's how we have some extra.
Okay, gotcha.
And then we can go ahead and use that money to the high school and still have money at the preschool, but we do have a deadline on spending preschool money. So
What's that deadline?
December 23.
23.
So we're thinking preschool, we would want to have all of our ducks in a row to actually do the preschool project in the summer of 23, so that we will meet the deadline of December 23.
Gotcha.
So all,
We will have the plans to do it, or we have to have it done by then?
we will have to have the money spent by December of 23. So our goal will be to have the plans to do it the summer of 23.
Yeah, because that, what we plan to do has to be done when there aren't any kids there, right?
And there's an 85% threshold that you gotta have it spent by,
Okay.
within 3 years.
Okay.
And we'll probably have 100% spent by that time.
Now, keep throwing in those details, because you've left them out in the past. I think
Okay,
it makes me uncomfortable.
okay. I will do more details.
Okay,
Sometimes when I give details, I see eyes gloss over, but I will do more details in the future.
I
That'd
stop
be my
that.
Okay.
I just feel like as long as Lisa knows what to do to meet the law, the letter of the law, then we are okay.
You're right.
So that's why I don't feel like I personally need to know every little XYZ, because she doesn't want to get in trouble.
Right.
So what happens if we get down to this thing and we've already seen a 45% overrun on the Howard project and a $14 million high school?
So,
Then we scale back the preschool project. If we allot 700,000 for the preschool project and we, you know, don't have that, then we need to do something at the preschool, which really we have
Yep.
already, but then we're meeting the requirements of the bond.
and if Rochelle can chime in if she's still on. Part of the committee, part of what we talked about in the committee was asking Rochelle about the cost increases and how that would apply to the high school. And she is, in the next couple of weeks, gonna be seeing some other projects and bids coming in. And she's also reaching out to several general contractors who are doing some larger projects like that and asking them, you know, are her square footage estimates in line that she's presenting to us? And so she's gonna go back and double check some of those things. The things that are driving the Howard projects that will not be, not likely to be in the high school project is, we won't have to worry about the escalation of labor rates with Bacon Davis, and we won't have to worry about trying to fit it into a very short time frame. It's a bigger project that should attract more contractors. And there should be a little bit more competition, and since there's more time to work through that process, and complete the project over time, we're not dealing with, because one of the things we talked about earlier was the number of schools right now that are trying to do summer projects to use their ESSER funds, which is limiting the number of contractors that we're getting bids from right now. So a lot of those things go away. What will stay going is the inflationary cost of equipment. So that is still out there, and materials, so that's still out there. That's what she's gonna go back and work on.
But she
the next
also
couple
felt
months.
like her numbers should be pretty good, because when she did her numbers, we kind of were aware of the situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. I'm nervous about it.
oh yeah, I mean, what's our backup plan? Have we got one? Or are we just gonna hope for the best here?
Well, I think we need to see let her go out and do that work the next couple of weeks and continue to keep us involved on, or keep us informed on what the cost estimates are.
We're talking about bidding that in June, July.
I mean, I don't think you can make a plan B when we don't even, I mean, we don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think.
Well, just in general terms, in my personal life, I always have a plan B. But, I mean, when I just saw a 45% increase, and I understand there are several factors, but, and with all due respect to Rochelle, and I said it on the last project, that company wants us to move forward, okay? If they hang us out to dry, it's no skin off of their back. Okay? So I am cautious about their numbers, but we'll know when we get bids, of course, but,
Then we'll have a challenge in front of us. If there's not enough money that we have bonded our kin bond for, then we're gonna have to probably scale the project back.
I don't know whether you were involved in that part, I can't remember when you came in, but we scaled that project back and back and back.
But we're just,
And I don't know whether you're gonna cut out the kitchen or the gymnasium or what you're gonna cut out.
until we get bids, we don't know. But I share your concern, believe me.
Yeah. I don't think we can scale the project back, I just don't know where you
I mean,
need.
I've said it for several meetings about, fortunately, we did have ESSER funds that helped to pay for some stuff at Howard that we'll have those monies available for.
Yeah, I'm gonna hope for the best.
And we also have what was it, $225,000 or $250,000 from the sale of Central that the finance committee said, let's not make any plans to spend that, let's say that for the high school. So that's money is there too. But yeah, the finance committee certainly shares the concerns on the cost.
Okay.
And she's the best, since I've been on the board, we've dealt with 4 architects. She knows what she's doing. Those other people were C minuses.
So the last thing we talked about on the finance committee was the buses, which we already went through. Okay, so that's, any questions on the finance committee report? Okay. Facilities committee, do you have a report from when you met last?
Yeah, but we can't talk about it.
Great.
We just talked about, well, I'll let you guys talk.
We brought it up earlier where we talked about the contract and how, we're gonna occupy that building on time and they're gonna have to work around that if they don't complete it on time, for whatever reason. And, Bi-State seems to have a pretty good handle. They did the last project for us.
Yeah, so we know them, they know us.
Yeah, they kind of.
And they know the building.
Yeah, so they pretty much know what that project's gonna be, so. I think that's really about all we talked about, wasn't it?
Position,
Oh, yes.
possible position, so,
On the facilities,
yeah.
We talked about that, I guess we did talk about that finance committee a little bit, Brooke brought that up, so. Okay. That finishes committee reports, financial reports, everything's in the
Can I go, find someplace I forgot to bring up in public forum? Somebody asked me about the kind of substitute teachers we have. There's stuff in the news that some schools have been allowed to have people who aren't fully certified to be substitutes. What are our substitutes here? Are we using aides as substitute teachers, or? We never talk about substitute teachers, we don't know who they are. It just never goes to us.
We have a shortage of substitute teachers.
Yeah, right.
And we use those that are fully certified. The paras, Julie or Matt or any of you, the paras, how do we use those?
So with the proclamation ending, paras who had a para certification could help in that classroom, but that is, they can only help in their special ed classroom now, instead of anywhere we needed them. We haven't done a whole lot of that. We also didn't have a whole lot of associates or paraprofessionals that qualified under. So I don't think it will impact us a whole lot. But if they ever would go back to like less or more than 60 hours, that would affect us. We do have a few people that are able to sub with their sub authorization because of that new change.
Anything else on that?
That answers my
Okay.
question, I think.
Okay. All right, so the financial reports are in your packet. And we would need, after discussion, a motion and a second, then a vote to go ahead and authorize this and pay the bills. Any questions on the financial reports? No questions on the financial reports? Have a motion to approve the financial reports?
Motion approved.
Second.
Have a motion second to approve the financial reports. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? What's that? Yeah, exactly.
Never had a question.
All opposed, no. The financial reports are approved. Motion to adjourn, please.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No.